Hi, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, here at DevOps Enterprise Summit 2015, Day 3. And right off the main stage, we're lucky to have Josh Corman, John Willis, who just gave a knockout presentation. And I'm going to let them talk about it a little bit and a little bit about the background behind it. John, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so people, I don't know if I'm smart or dumb, but I'm very passionate, and I get a lot of compliments on my passion about what I talk about, and it's operational infrastructure. I just love new bleeding edge technologies, and I got to see Josh speak at DevOps Days Austin. In fact, all three of us were there, and I saw a different kind of passion. I saw a passion that was as enthusiastic as maybe more than me, but with one other element, which was he wants to save lives. And I never really thought about what I do and all the things I do and how it connected there. And then I begged him to say, we have to do a presentation together because I want at least, for me, understand how what I do does this, but I know there are people out there who would get a better message out of we called it the peanut butter and chocolate moment, right, buddy?
So I was coming at this DevOps culture with the rugged DevOps tenets of could we maybe, we saw it as the end of security as we know it. Gene and I could tell that DevOps is a true game changer, but instead of lamenting that, we said this is an opportunity to maybe do things a lot better. And we love the empathy and the be mean to your code and the instrument everything. So we were looking for injection points, and what we found was not only could we make security less painful for development, but if you take a page from Deming and you take in software supply chain principles from, say, Toyota supply chain, the easy thing and the profitable thing also happens to be the safe thing. So I tried to introduce the notion that there's three principles of using fewer and better suppliers, the highest quality parts from those suppliers, and the traceability of which parts go where throughout manufacturing would not only have massive reduction on things like Heartbleed and shell shock and bash bug, but also less unplanned, unscheduled work for developers, faster mean time to recover when things go wrong, fewer break fixes so there's less things going wrong. And I think those awesome things that people seem to like came straight into collision and conflict with things like Docker or Golang or immutable delivery. And we said, let's not have these things collide, let's have them be the best of both worlds.
And how do you do that, though?
Therein lies the rub.
Well, it's to start the conversation. Like, we knew that coming here and being able to present this, our assumption was we would blow people's minds, right? On two fronts, right? Not just one. And I think from the reaction, I think we kind of did that, or the people that are willing to listen. So now we're in the help us do this. In fact, even Sunday we had a little, about 6 or 7 us vendors talking about how do we start. So for me, immutable delivery, right? The ability to build these binary black boxes through the infrastructure is speed, variance, it's brilliance, right? But I've always known this is, from my operational brethren, like this is going to be a nightmare if we don't fix it. So what Josh is talking about is, for me, even at the simplest thing is how do we get a bill of material in there? Now Josh spends a lot more time understanding the provenance of that, but let's just start with the concept of some metadata that should be in every one of these immutable black boxes.
I mean, the benefits that something like containers bring is think about all the configuration errors that lead to security issues, think about all the variability and the delta between tests and production. So there's a lot of things that security people should love about standard containers, maybe even headless and zero admin containers, and you can blow them away and bring them right back in seconds. So those were all great. The part that was scary was at a time when we need to scrutinize the quality of the parts that go into our digital food here, we were rendering it opaque. So our idea is, as we create containers, let's dynamically generate a bill of materials so you can make policy decisions on if that one's got a bad version of bash or shell shock in it, don't load it. If it does, dynamically load this one. Yeah. So in my opinion,
great. I love this idea, guys.
And the thing is, so I always thought about the beauty of immutable delivery is when you have to rebuild an infrastructure, you need to roll out infrastructure, you can do it immediately. I tell the story of the high frequency trading at 5 o'clock, they got about a 5-minute window to rebuild everything. What I hadn't really thought about is if I wanted to selectively, from a remediation standpoint, do that. And that was when, again, the light bulb went off when I saw his presentation in Austin.
So obviously my background is security as well, these things get me going.
Right. So we're all excited now.
It's so exciting.
So damn excited.
How how can we somehow come up with some open source project, some sort of something that people can actually say, hey, we are going to make that dynamic change.
I think the first part was recognizing the need and the opportunity, and I think there's been several people publishing how many known vulnerabilities are in a bunch of the public containers from different places, and this is not a new problem. It's just, it's now found its way here. Second thing is we've been talking about the best way to dynamically generate a bill of materials so that people know what they're getting. And the third thing he already mentioned, we called together a DevOps Toolchain Summit, and we said, guys, how do we best get safer sooner by aligning which parts are going to be done where and who's going to be best at which things. So I would say foundationally a lot of that progress started this weekend.
Good.
Yeah, and the blast radius hopefully started from our presentation.
That's right.
I think so. Let me just ask, and Josh and John, Josh, you're probably more familiar, is what about the security community? First of all, it does my heart good to see the security community represented here. Not as much as I would like, but they're here. How do we take this message to them and get their buy-in?
I want him to answer the long end. I want a really quick, short injection. The best thing they did that I thought about Rugged is everybody else tried to change the DevOps name. And this, to me, it was so brilliant that they didn't try to call it DevSec. They called it DevOps Rugged. So what they did is they kept the core of DevOps in the discussion. And to me, that's why it's been the most successful other branch so far. And then I want you to answer the more detailed question.
I think if you're asking what security people, how they should look at it.
How do we get, Josh, you and I know the problem we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think it's starting to turn. David Mortman and I, for example, we focus on 5 areas of common ground culturally we have as injection points and opportunities to help. And briefly, it's that we both communities, both the security community and the DevOps community, we like to instrument everything. So that increased instrumentation gives us a lot more telemetry and actionable information and fuels an OODA loop. Second thing is we both like to be mean to our code. So the whole chaos monkey philosophy fits really well with tools like Gauntlet and Zap and Burp and other security test tools. The only way to avoid failures fail all the time. Third is we have a mutual hatred for elective complexity, right? So complexity is the enemy of all things.
So build on commonalities,
exactly.
not on what our differences
Yeah.
are. I heard an interesting, someone was, actually it was Damon Edwards.
Damon,
I was talking to Damon yesterday, and he said, what we need to convince the, or not convince, but get across to security people is that going faster is safer.
It is.
It is, yeah.
And that, I think,
it's like riding a bike. Imagine riding really slow.
You fall. Exactly. Yeah. Just a quick plug for this. Last year at RSA Network, at RSA Conference, excuse me, we did a DevSecOps DevOps Connect. This year we are calling it Rugged DevOps.
That's right.
And Josh is going to lead the charge again, hopefully. John,
I think he's going to have to speak.
Come.
Huh?
Yeah, we can get you in there. I've been recruiting a bunch of people. And we are, God damn it, we're going to make the security people
Let's make it happen.
this year.
Yeah.
It'll be, I think it's February 29th.
Yeah,
and I think they are ready for it. And we're going to make it happen. Guys, you knocked it dead out there. Just real quick, we're way over time, but forget you two on stage. DevOps Enterprise Summit. What's been the greatest thing about it for you guys?
For me, it's Hallway Con. There's so many smart people who are trying new things, and it's like all these chemical reactions are happening. It's almost hard to even get into the talks because we're having too many amazing conversations.
Yeah. And one of the things that Gene did earlier this year, he had a little summit. So all those summary things, he invited a bunch of people up. Some could come, some based on timing. But
that was the DevOps Forum.
Yeah,
right?
What was amazing though is Gene is a connector, right? So at other conferences, you meet somebody at a conference. In fact, we actually met at a different conference, but until our common connection was Gene, we never started having these deep conversations. So he's created, now I've got these conversations going with Josh, I got these conversations going with Ross Clanton over at Target and Mustafa over at IBM. And Gene created this, it isn't just a show up and meet hey, how's it going? We're having these like lasting intermediate conversations and that's just spreading out. 400 last year, 1,200 this year.
Yeah.
Right?
And the numbers speak for themselves.
It's not just a conference. It's a connection. It really is. I mean, I sound like a marketing issue, but it really is different.
We go to so many conferences per year. This has a different tone entirely. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Josh Corman, John Willis, thank you so much first of all, thank you so much for presenting a great presentation. On behalf of IT Revolution, Electric Cloud, DevOps.com, thanks for joining us today. Hope to see you, well, hopefully we'll see you at the RSA conference, but before and after that as well. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com.